and welcome to Life with Jane. I'm sitting on the settee with my little dog who's always close by me, sometimes making noises, sometimes not, but there you go. So this week, what's been happening, what is going to be happening? Well, today is the 5th of May, which is we're celebrating VE Day, Victory in Europe Day. It's the 80th anniversary, and there's quite a lot of different celebrations and things going on, as there should be. There's a parade going down through the town to the church later on today. There's also at a local it's a museum, and they are having, they're setting it up as if it was during the Second World War. So everybody is there in costumes and vehicles and all sorts of things to try and replicate how it would have been back in 1945. And there is a fly pass at 1 o'clock, so about an hour's time. I know I'm going to put this out tonight at about 6, but in about an hour's time there's going to be a fly pass of Spitfires and I think the Red Arrows as well. So that will be quite interesting. I'm relatively near. Don't know quite what direction, but I know when they have the Farnborough Air Show, which they have, and they don't tend to have public days anymore. When they had public days, you'd have the Red Arrows doing their displays and things, and when they broke off into their sort of twos and then came to do the bits, 2 of them would literally fly right over my house, which was rather nice because they'd always have the smoke and everything behind them, because they would always have red, white and blue, and whether it was blue or whether it was red, the smoke would come over. So it was rather nice to actually see it, but they don't have public days anymore. It's more of a selling event, as it were. So, you know, you don't get the same sort of thing. You get a lot of planes and things coming over, various different jets and things like that, but not the Red Arrows. So I'm going to keep my eyes open to see if I can see the Red Arrows coming through today at about 1 o'clock. And as I say, we're, yes, just about an hour's time. Whether we'll see them or not, I don't know, because it's quite overcast today. We've had a week of glorious sunny weather, hence me not doing a video last Wednesday. I was going to do one in the garden, but it was so nice and I got stuck into weeding and sorting and planting and just generally faffing about as you do in the garden, but particularly when the weather's nice. I sat out for a few hours as well and did some of my quilting, which I will show you so you can see how it's come along. It's a work in progress. So what I'm doing is I will make, so I will make pieces like this, which hopefully you can see some of it, and then those pieces will go on to the larger one, which is now, I don't know whether I can actually show you this because it's so big now, but I'll show it to you in pieces, I think. It's actually it's going to be a double bed size, and it's all out of scraps. So, and it's all out of what they call English paper piecing. So you basically do it all by hand, and it's starting to look wonderful now. I'm really, really pleased with it, and whenever I'm sitting down, which tends to be in the evening, I will sit down and I will do some, I've got to try and fold this up now, I will do some and just get another strip or so done in a few evenings, and then because it's getting so big I will do a piece this is going to be 15 rows, so we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we're 8 rows long across there, so it's going to be twice as long, and then it's fine across the top, and then that piece will then be stitched all the way along here onto the other piece, and then that gives me another row, and that should then be the right width, and then I've just got to keep carrying on down. I'm loving it. It's the first time I've ever done any English paper piecing, but it's something that it's very relaxing. There's little tips and tricks that I'm learning along the way. So one of my little tips and tricks is this is where I keep my cottons, my needles and my cottons, and if you thread up several needles with cotton, then you don't have to stop to keep threading a needle and putting more cotton on, so that saves a little bit, and I'm quite pleased with that. And as I say, my stitching and everything, as you get more into the rhythm of it, and as you do more, you find it easier, and it doesn't take quite as much time. Anyway, let me get back to I've got my notes on my lap, because otherwise I forget where I am and I go off on a tangent and things. One of the things that I was thinking about this week was a week ago, I think it's a week ago, there was a power outage, so an electricity power outage in the whole of Spain and the whole of Portugal. And the power went out for 12 hours, no electricity. So you couldn't use any form of devices that used electricity. So you couldn't use your credit card anywhere, because all of the machines use electricity. All of the shops were closed, or most of the shops were closed, because they couldn't take credit card transactions. Some of them were open because they would be able to sell food if people had cash. Now, I must admit, over the past year or so, couple of years, I've been carrying less and less cash with me. I just carry my credit cards in a small bag with my phone. I don't use the phone things. I don't like that. It's something that, yes, I suppose I should get around to doing it, but again, I quite like just using a card, and I'm used to using a card, and I'm not that keen on using my phone to pay for things. So but I carry very little cash, if anything at all, because everything these days you can use your credit card, or your cash, debit card, credit card, whatever you want to use. However, if we have an outage, and in thinking about it, the electricity and power stations and things in the UK are fairly antiquated, they're not new things. So if there happened to be an outage and there was no power, would I be able to cope for, this time it was 12 hours. 12 hours would make no difference one way or the other to me. Suppose it was 12 days. What would I do in 12 days if I didn't have any cash to be able to buy anything in cash? My freezer would go off. I would lose everything in my freezer because there'd be no electricity. How would I cook? Well, I have a wood-burning stove. So, okay, it's the summer, but I could light a fire, and I could boil some water on the top of the wood burner, and I could cook on the top of the wood burner. So that wouldn't be a problem. I could have a little fire in the garden, like a barbecue, get some barbecue coals, which would probably all sell out immediately, but have a little barbecue in the garden, and I would be able to cook something out there. My son has one of these big egg barbecue things, which you put coals and things. They'll cook their Christmas turkey out on it. They will cook a great big huge piece of ham or beef or whatever, and leave it overnight, and it's absolutely delicious. So Cooking wouldn't be a problem. Would I have food in the house to be able to cook if my freezer went out? I would have to cook everything that was in the freezer, and yes, there would be wastage because I wouldn't be able to cook everything that I had in my freezer. Your freezer should be all right if it was for 12 hours and I didn't open it and I kept it completely closed. I think I would be all right for 12 hours. 24 hours, no. So again, it's the sort of thing that makes you think, have I got enough store cupboard things? So have I got enough tins? Have I got, because not everybody has the facility of being able to cook. So would I be able to have enough things that were tinned, that I could eat tinned and cold? And would that last me for, as I say, I'm saying, because it was 12 hours, I'm saying what happened if it was 12 days. Now, it's something that it's never happened before. Will it happen again? Who knows? Who knows? It's one of those things that we really don't know. But would we be prepared for it if it happened? And it's made me think, well, maybe I should have a small amount of cash that I keep on me, just in case. And no, I wouldn't carry very much because I don't have very much to carry anyway. But maybe a little bit, maybe enough to, you know, my weekly food shopping is only ever sort of £20 at the maximum anyway. So, you know, if I suddenly decided, okay, well, I'll have £20 in cash on me just in case. Maybe that would be a sensible idea. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? You know, do let me know. As I say, I've always said that this, my Monday ramblings are very much a community thing. So it's, I like your input, I like your thoughts. What I'm saying is only my thoughts on something, and would I be prepared? Now, I know there are quite a few people out there that have YouTube channels and things that are preppers, and they're called preppers, and they're, you know, prepare for everything, and they will can and they will jar and they will have all sorts of things in store cupboard ready just in case. So again, it made me think, I'm not somebody who would prep a lot of things, but I might keep an extra few tins available, you know, things like my lentils and things. You can eat lentils hot or cold. Beans, you can have beans hot or cold, you know, it'd be quite nice to heat them up, but, you know, again, you can eat them cold if needs be. Vegetables and things, you know, you can eat vegetables cold, so carrots and things like that, you can grate them up, you can, you know, put something like balsamic vinegar or something which will slightly, the acidity from the vinegar will help to sort of cook it a little bit, so you could have something like that. Just a thought. Yeah, one of those things. So, the other thing, what am I going to be doing on Wednesday and what am I going to be doing on Friday? Well, my Foodie Friday, I've had quite a few people who have asked me to do this, which is the steamed suet treacle pudding. Now, it's called treacle pudding, and I've always known it as treacle pudding, but it's not actually treacle as in molasses, black treacle. It is golden syrup. So we call it treacle pudding, and I don't know why it was called treacle pudding, because as I say, treacle we think of now as being the black treacle, so the molasses, but it's not, it's golden syrup. And it's a steamed suet pudding, very similar to the bacon and onion roly-poly pudding that I did, but it's done in a pudding basin. Now, you can cook it on top of the stove exactly the same as I did with the bacon roly-poly for a couple of hours. And I know I had quite a lot of people last time who turned around and said, oh, ever so expensive to have the gas on for 2 hours on the hob. So I thought I would experiment and see, because quite a lot of people had said you can cook it on in the microwave. So the first time, and I've done it a couple of times to just try it out, so I got it absolutely perfect. The first time I did it, I had researched, and the average consensus seemed to be to have it on medium heat, not hot, not high. So you can have low, medium and high on most microwaves, but to have it on medium and to cook it for 12 minutes. Well, I did that and it came out like a brick, absolute brick. Literally, I had a serrated knife and I had to literally saw through it. It was a bit like if you think of scones that have been left out and have gone very dry. It was similar to that. Did I waste it? No. I actually toasted it over several days and just had it with toast and butter. And it was fine. It was, you know, it wasn't great, but it was fine. It was perfectly edible. So then I started reducing it down, and I've now got it to perfection on my microwave, which is a 750 watt microwave. So it's fairly powerful. Lots of microwaves are about 500 watts. Mine, as I say, is 750. So what I would say is try and experiment a couple of times to get the actual, if you're not going to cook it on top of the stove in the traditional manner, try it a couple of times and see on the temperature. So, excuse me, I should have had a drink, I've just got a tickle now. Try and, oh, I'm just going to grab a drink, bear with me 2 seconds. Right, I'm back. Right, I wasn't going to stop it because it was only for a little bit. You know when you suddenly, oh, that's better. There's a little tickle in your throat, and you go, oh, I've got to cough, and then you think, oh, I'm going to cough and cough and cough and cough. So where was I? Oh yes. So my microwave, it will take 8 minutes, and again, with the recipe, you can play around with it a bit. So just doing it with the plain recipe and the treacle is quite nice, but you can add some extra flavours. So I used lemon zest and the juice of a lemon in it, which gave it a lovely sort of subtle lemon flavour. You can do it, if you don't want the treacle, you can do it with currants. Soak the currants first, you know, overnight, so that again you've got, they're quite sort of juicy, and that will make a spotted dick. I'm not very keen on that, so I didn't do that. You could add cherries, you can change the recipe as you want. It's the basic recipe, and it's a really economical recipe, so it's something that I would say, you know, give it a try. Now I know if people who are in America, the States and Canada and things, they don't have suet. I used vegetable suet for this one because it's a sweet dish. So I didn't want to use beef suet for a sweet dish. You can do, obviously. And I show you the 2 different ones of the Atora and the different coloured packets, etc. I believe Crisco is very similar, or shortening is very similar. I don't know because I haven't tried it, and it's not something that I would use because I can't easily get it over here in the UK. But it's something that's worth a try if you want to have a go at making this recipe. If not, then just enjoy watching it, and you know, there'll be something else next week. In fact, what am I doing next week? Oh yes, yes, I'll tell you next week. And next week's one that you'll like is another supper dish one, which I think will be quite fun. So, you know, I try and do a mixture of all sorts of things, so just sort of stay tuned for that. And Wednesday. Wednesday this week, because again I think the weather's not going to be great to be out in the garden, I'm going to be doing my top 10, I think, probably, might only be 5, but I think I can get it to 10 kitchen utensils that I can't do without and why I use them. So 10 items that are really useful to have and use in the kitchen that I use all the time. So I thought that you would probably enjoy that. Right, so that's about it for today. I hope if you're having the bank holiday, you have a lovely bank holiday, even though the weather's a bit inclement. Not a drop of rain here yet, so it's really dry, so I'm still having to water my pots, even though it's pretty inclement. But, you know, hopefully it'll be nicer. And as always, please stay safe and well. Please be kind, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.